welcome to this brand new edition of Behind the Scenes on Business Today TV. I'm Sakshi Batra, and this is a show where we share a sneak peek of the latest Business Today magazine with all our viewers. With me on the show, I have Mr. Anand Adhikari and Alokesh Bhattacharya, both managing editors of the magazine, and also joining in with us is Krishna Gopalan, executive editor of Business Today magazine. Welcome, gentlemen, and thank you so much for taking the time out. It's great to have you all on this special edition. Now, we do know that this magazine is very, very special. A sneak peek, the first look of the magazine to all our viewers right here. And you can see, and we're going to be discussing all things that matter to you. And, that's been taken in very, very in a detailed fashion in this issue as well. So Anand, let me kickstart with you only, because it's a very interesting cover. It says Modi's unicorn. We have Prime Minister Modi and a unicorn behind that. So why don't you first help all our viewers really understand what exactly is Prime Minister Modi's unicorn?
So, Sakshi, this story is about the India's investment promotion agency, the Invest India, and there's a history to it. This agency was set up, in 2009, when the previous Congress, the UP government was in power. But this agency was almost defunct. The office was in FICCI office. The resources were shared, and the agency was not empowered. Everything changed when the new government came in. I think 14, 15.
Yeah.
When this agency was empowered. They hired a professional CEO, Deepak Bagla, who has previous experience in World Bank and Citibank, and even if you see the entire equity was restructured. Earlier, 49% was with the government, and 51% was with the FICCI. Then the government, the 49% part was shared with the states, and it got a private character in the sense. They had the operational freedom, to hire people from the market. Today they have 400 plus people. The average age is 29, and it clearly operates, as a startup.
Right. Could you also help all our viewers really understand, the kind of role that they have played in increasing the ease of doing business, and what difference have they been able to make as far as attracting of the FDIs is concerned? Any tangible contribution of Invest India in increasing those numbers?
See, today, if you see the, in 21-22, India got, FDI is worth, 85 billion US dollar. And if I see the Invest India's contribution in the last 5-6 years, they helped in raising almost 35 billion, and another 200 billion is in the pipeline, and that's the kind of contribution, the Invest India is making. And they have also helped in terms of, job creation. They claim to have given jobs almost like 4.5, lakh people, when they talk about this 30 billion, part. And even if you see today the FDI is very broad based. Today if you see the states, almost 31 states, they contribute to the FDI. Similarly, for the country part, I think there's some 165 plus country, that are contributing, and that's where the Invest India is playing a big role.
Okay, understood that. Also, just one more point on to helping all our viewers really understand, if you could explain the workflow of Invest India, how do they do what, to achieve all of these important tasks that, India as a brand can really use to get more investments back home?
So I think there are broadly two strategies. One is the proactive targeting, where they reach out to, companies, and that they do, by going through, companies, investor call, global companies announcement, wherever there's an, India is mentioned, so that's a very proactive way they reach out to, companies. Second is the reactive part, when any foreign companies, they reach out to us, via maybe an investment fair, or maybe a query, if a query is there. So that's how, it starts. And they have separate team, they have a country desk, they have a state desk, and even they have people, managing the specific government departments, for them. And then they create a WhatsApp group, and they, then they involve the companies, they give them options, on the land side, which states will be best suited to them. And then that's how, the Invest India team, helps these companies to zero in on a particular location and the, investment here in India.
Absolutely. It's very, very fascinating to know. And I'm sure that, a lot of people who may have not known about this, that there is a company and there is a professional team that is really working towards improving brand India's image abroad and getting, all the investments back home, making India as the most preferred destination of investments back home as well. Thank you so much, Anand, for explaining to us how this all functions and what critical role is an Invest India really playing in this sphere as well. Let me now go across to Alokesh, who's also given us some very important updates in this issue as far as the business confidence index is concerned. Alokesh, help us with all those insights that you've got for Q2. This quarter has been amid a lot of uncertainty, if I can say the least. So, and the business confidence was earlier expected to be a bit tepid. What's the kind of insight that you've got?
Right, Sakshi, the business confidence has surprised us all, right? Like you mentioned, it was supposed to be tepid, but it has turned out to be exactly the opposite, which presently
Okay.
surprised us all. And if you look at the parameters, right, that is why the headline of my story is called "The Tale of Two Sentiments." You know, both positive
Yes.
as well as negative. Yeah. So if you look at the macro situation, retail inflation at when the time of writing the story, at least wholesale inflation was still above 10, even though it was going
Yes.
down. Today, I think the numbers have come, which has taken it under double digits after a long, long time. But still, it's not in the comfort zone, and retail inflation is rising. You know, the IIP is going down. The gap between the trade deficit, the gap between exports and imports continues to rise, and the rupee depreciation has also happened in a big way, even though now it has been more or less seems to be under control a little bit, right? But despite all these factors, the sentiment that has come out is quite positive. It is better than
Okay.
the previous quarter. Previous quarter, the
Okay.
overall BPI index value was 51.2. This quarter, it's 52.5,
Mm-hmm.
which is quite high actually if you look at it. And if you delve a little deeper into why this could be, because remember that this sentiment is based on the interviews of 500 CEOs, right? CEOs and CFOs. They will approach the sentiment from their own business perspective, right? Not necessarily from an economy or a macro, angle. So if you look at from a business point of view, this time there has been an above average monsoon, right? And maybe too above average, for our comfort at times. But
Yes.
it has been above average. There has been a delayed recovery in the kharif sowing of kharif crops, right? The reservoir position of India has improved. There's been a lot of capex oriented expenditure from the government, right? And also there has been a significant recovery in the credit growth. So if you
Yes.
look at it that way, while the
Definitely.
macro, high performance indicators indicate otherwise, the situation on the
Hmm.
ground is slightly different, and that is why possibly the outcome is more positive than we anticipated it to be.
Right, absolutely. But do you expect it to continue this way? Because in the next quarter, we will also have those festive trends coming about. Are any signs of those, coming encouraging to give us a future prospect as to what can we expect?
Absolutely. In fact, the festive season is already on us, right? And Diwali has just gone by, and so has Durga Puja, and that did help lift, the spirits and the numbers across several industries. The automobile industry did much better in the 42-day festive period, the Navaratri period, and going forward, also the festival seasons, that are on us. They are expected to improve our numbers hugely because there is a lot of pent-up demand in the market,
Right.
and that pent up demand should help lift, the amount of credit that's going out and lift consumption and lift, the sentiments of businesses.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Alokesh, for giving us all those insights. I'm sure fascinating trends that all our viewers would love to read about as well in this issue. Let me go across to Krishna now, who has another very interesting story in this issue. And he's covered all about Tata Elxsi, which Krishna tells me is not a typical IT firm. It has experience in engineering, in product design, and it provides all these services to businesses across industries. Now, what's exciting for all the viewers to understand is that how Tata Elxsi may now be working on something which could be a defining moment in Indian auto industry and also could be instrumental in providing those OTT content back in our homes. How is that going to happen? Krishna, help us with all those details.
Actually, you hit the nail on the head when you said it's not a typical IT company. For one, It's not headquartered in Bombay. Mumbai, they're based in Bangalore, which is the interesting part. More importantly, the company's been around since the late 80s. That's over 3 decades. They had a host of verticals. They did a host of work which was largely devoid of focus. They finally found their bearings in three key verticals: transportation, media and communications, and finally healthcare. What they basically position themselves as is an ER&D company, engineering, research, and development. So this is really a confluence of design, there's research, and there's serious engineering work that goes into it. Meaning, this is not typical outsourcing kind of offshoring company. You could be sitting in a driverless car, for example. They will decide how the sensors work. You could be watching an OTT platform at home. They will decide how the content actually reaches your television set. So we are speaking of a workforce that's completely eclectic. You have ethnographers, you have engineers, of course, but you have a host of other people who understand the human mind and stuff like that. The interesting part of this company, apart from all this, is they've carved a niche in these three verticals and are a complete global player. Of course, there's a whole issue of not disclosing the name of the client or the customer in that sense. But more importantly, they work on projects which are far-reaching. They're a part of a disruption story. So every time you think of a driverless car, for example, or OTT, there's an interesting example here. They worked on OTT for about 10 years, when all of us are still speaking about the classic set-top box or appointment viewing. So the ability to see the future, ability to work around disruption, combine all of that with a serious engineering research and development concept is really what Tata Elxsi is all about.
Absolutely, and that's an interesting bit as well. Now, what is also very important for all the viewers who are also investors in the stock market, Tata Elxsi as a stock has created massive wealth over the last 8-10 years or so. But then there are now analysts raising questions that, is it overvalued because it's run up quite a bit in a short period? Help us understand, what lies ahead for the company.
So actually, fundamentally, there's no issue with the business model, but analysts themselves have been very candid. We spoke to Deepan Mehta, who, apart from an analyst, is also a big investor. He's sitting on investment at a return of over 50x over the last decade, actually. So, in his opinion, and it's interesting given that it's coming from an investor, he believes the stock itself is perhaps overvalued, but it'll kind of be range bound for some time. The fundamental issue is if there's been a run up in the market in a particular stock, it means the market has understood the merit of the stock. Well, there will be a situation where the correction is inevitable. The business model of the company is not in any doubt or any sense of question. How the market assesses valuation is quite a different story. But to be fair, it had a run up which was way beyond the expectations of most people. It appears as if there's some level of correction now, and the market may therefore get to see the stock hitting what I would imagine a more realistic level more than anything else.
Okay, understood that. Well, thank you so much, Krishna, for all those details and insights on Tata Elxsi. Very fascinating. We're going to be seeing how this company really unfolds going forward from here. For all the investors who already have the stock, this is going to be a very important story to understand the way, future is looking like for Tata Elxsi. And thank you so much, Anand and Alokesh as well, for being with us and sharing all those wonderful insights on, this social unicorn Invest India, and also the business consumers index as well, confidence index as well. That's going to be very, very important for all those viewers who've been looking at investing as a potential, going forward from here, because only when the economy is doing well, the business sentiment is high, do the stock markets also reflect that as well. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure seeking all those wonderful insights from all of you. And with that, I do urge all our viewers to please go out there and grab your copies. This is going to be a very, very fascinating read. So do go ahead and grab your copies as well. Thank you very much for tuning in on this edition.